Unbelievable. After a Chinese Grand Prix to forget, Red Bull's Liam Lawson has just faced a real crisis. After a series of radio frustrations, where he admitted feeling completely defeated, is his future at F1's most dominant team in jeopardy? Stay tuned, because today we're going to find out what happened, the repercussions for Red Bull, and whether it really is the end of the line for the New Zealand driver. Is the pressure from Red Bull too high for a rookie? Let me know your thoughts in the comments before I continue. During the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, Liam Lawson experienced an absolute nightmare, one that would be etched in the memories of F1 fans. The New Zealand driver, facing his second race behind the wheel of the Red Bull RB21, had nothing but trouble from the opening laps, and his frustrations were evident over the radio communications. From lap 3, Lawson was already trapped in a DRS train, unable to escape the pack of cars surrounding him. But it wasn't until lap 12 that his problems began to become critical. Throughout the race, he began to report unpredictable behavior from the car, especially in the most difficult sections of the track. "I'm struggling with the bumps on corner entry and with the rear end on exit," he said, highlighting his difficulties in finding balance in his car. The vibrations and lack of grip were a constant headache, a problem that quickly began to erode his confidence in the car. As the race progressed, the situation only worsened. Lawson tried to maintain pace and defend his position, but the car's lack of grip and traction made him increasingly vulnerable. On lap 14, his frustration reached a fever pitch when he reported, "Mate, I don't have the grip to fight this." He was struggling to keep the car on the track while trying to fight with rivals in close proximity, but the lack of control was evident. The situation wasn't improving, and after the pit stop, the driver continued to report his problems. On lap 27, Lawson shared his anguish with his engineer. "I'm really struggling at the front," a statement that underscored the car's instability and his inability to find a quick solution. His team had attempted to make adjustments during the stop, but the improvements weren't effective enough to improve the situation. The situation became even more desperate as the race progressed. On lap 38, Lawson issued a blunt message, "I have no balance, absolutely none." This reflected a total loss of confidence in the car's performance. He was not just struggling with the car's mechanics, but with a complete imbalance in its handling. The difficulty in controlling the car at this point was clearly affecting his concentration, and his on-track performance suffered severely. By lap 49, Lawson's desperation was evident. After an attempt at encouragement from his race engineer, who mentioned that he could still catch the group in front of him, Lawson responded bluntly, "Yeah, the front end is absolutely finished." This statement was a reality check for everyone, as it was clear that the problems were not minor. Tire wear and a lack of traction in critical areas of the circuit were evident, and the situation was now irreversible. What began as a simple bad day at Lawson's office turned into a series of technical issues that highlighted a significant incompatibility between the driver's driving style and the characteristics of the RB21. Lawson's technical difficulties were neither momentary nor minor. The structural failures in the car were continuous and became more pronounced with each passing lap. In short, the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix was an absolute ordeal for the driver, who could do nothing to prevent a performance far below his and the team's expectations. This scenario reflects a historical pattern that has plagued Red Bull drivers other than Max Verstappen. With Sergio Perez, Alexander Albon, and Pierre Gasly, the Milton Keynes team has struggled to accommodate drivers with driving styles different from Verstappen's. In his case, Red Bull's demanding design philosophy, which favors a precise and aggressive driving style, appears to have created an almost insurmountable barrier for drivers who fail to fully adapt to the demands of the car. Lawson's disaster in China was, therefore, more than a series of bad decisions or simply a bad day on the track. It was a clear indication that the RB21, while extremely competitive, has a very narrow operating window, only suited to drivers with a specific skill set like Verstappen's. The RB21's performance in the 2025 season has generated intense debate about the car's characteristics and its adaptability to different driving styles. Since Max Verstappen's arrival at Red Bull, the team has designed cars that favor an extremely precise and aggressive driving style, something that has become an advantage for its star driver but a challenge for other drivers. This pattern has been repeated over the years, and the current situation with Liam Lawson at the Chinese Grand Prix is no exception. The RB21, like other Red Bull cars in the past, is clearly set up to maximize performance in the hands of a driver who can take full advantage of its characteristics. The car's aerodynamic characteristics and balance are designed to deliver the best performance in terms of speed and competitiveness on the grid, but this comes with a very narrow operating window. This design favors drivers with exceptional ability to control the car precisely, like Max Verstappen, but makes it difficult for other drivers to adapt. One of the main challenges Lawson faces with the RB21 relates to instability on corner entry and lack of traction on exit, particularly in low-speed corners. These characteristics are the result of a demanding aerodynamic balance that requires very specific handling skills. For Verstappen, who has demonstrated exceptional ability to handle these challenges, these peculiarities of the car are not a problem. His ability to adjust to the changing conditions in the car allows him to maintain an extremely high level of performance. However, for drivers like Lawson, who lack the same experience with the car's behavior or the same ability to adapt quickly, the difficulties are evident. Lawson, as a Red Bull rookie, has had to face these challenges without adequate preparation. The fact that Red Bull hasn't given him enough time or resources to familiarize himself with the team's previous cars, as some sources have pointed out, has further complicated his task. This lack of prior familiarity with the RB21's characteristics has intensified the gap between him and Verstappen. Furthermore, Red Bull's philosophy of designing cars that aren't easy to drive, but offer exceptional performance in the right hands, has been a recurring theme within the team. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, has acknowledged that the RB21 is a difficult car to drive. However, he emphasized that Verstappen is able to adapt to these difficulties due to his unique driving style, making him an exceptional driver for this type of car. This same difficulty has caused problems for other drivers who fail to adapt quickly to the car, as has previously happened with Sergio Perez, Alexander Albon, and Pierre Gasly. The design of the RB21, while impressive in terms of performance, highlights a disconnect between the team's philosophy and the needs of a second driver who doesn't possess the same driving style as Verstappen. The car is built to take full advantage of the aggression and precision of a driver with an exceptional ability to adapt to changing conditions. This creates a considerable performance gap between Verstappen and his teammates, who struggle to adapt to a car that wasn't designed with them in mind. Red Bull, like other teams, constantly seeks to improve the performance and competitiveness of its car, but the challenge with the RB21 is finding a balance that allows both drivers to succeed without compromising the car's ultimate capability. For Lawson, the difficulty in adapting is not just a technical issue, but a matter of driving style and confidence. Time is a critical factor, and while Lawson has shown a willingness to improve, the pressure of the Red Bull environment and the demands of the car make adaptation a long and complicated process. In short, the RB21 is undoubtedly an exceptional car in terms of performance, but its handling difficulties test even the most experienced drivers. For a rookie like Lawson, the challenge is even greater. Red Bull has built a car that favors a specific driving style, raising questions about the feasibility of maintaining the balance between maximum competitiveness and adaptability for drivers other than Max Verstappen. Given the obvious problems Liam Lawson is facing with the RB21, Red Bull has been forced to seek solutions to improve its performance while ensuring the car remains competitive at the highest level. The pressure on the New Zealand driver has not been easy to bear, and Red Bull's expectations, both internal and external, demand a swift response. In this context, several strategies have been considered to help Lawson overcome his difficulties and improve his adaptation to the car. One of the first actions Red Bull took to try to improve the situation was to modify the RB21 setup specifically for the Chinese Grand Prix race. Given Lawson's evident lack of confidence with the car, the team decided to make significant adjustments to the setup to try to make the car more manageable and accessible for the driver. This decision was an attempt to mitigate the traction and cornering stability issues that Lawson had been facing since the opening laps. The team adjusted parameters such as weight distribution, suspension settings, and other aerodynamic aspects in an effort to find a more balanced setup. However, the results of these changes were not as expected. Although Red Bull hoped the adjustments would improve Lawson's performance, the driver acknowledged that the changes were not enough. After the race, Lawson admitted that, despite his efforts to adapt the car, he had not achieved the expected results and that the problems persisted. This reflects one of the main difficulties: making a car as demanding as the RB21 manageable enough without compromising its performance. The question of how to tune the car to improve its handling without sacrificing too much speed remains a central dilemma for Red Bull. Setups tailored for Lawson tend to produce a less aggressive car, but this could mean a loss of competitiveness against other teams. For Red Bull, this situation presents a difficult balance. They must find a way to make the car more accessible to Lawson without harming their championship aspirations. As the race calendar develops, it becomes increasingly clear that the tweaks to the RB21 cannot be too extensive, as the car's characteristics are optimized to maximize Max Verstappen's performance. Another solution that has been proposed is to give Lawson more time to adapt to the RB21's peculiarities. His lack of prior familiarity with Red Bull cars could be influencing his ability to adapt quickly. Unlike Verstappen, who has spent years fine-tuning his connection with the car, Lawson was promoted to a Red Bull seat without having had the opportunity to test cars from previous seasons or familiarize himself with the specific driving characteristics required by the car. This direct jump from his time with the AlphaTauri team, now known as Racing Bulls, to a seat in the main team has been a significant challenge, especially in a car as demanding as the RB21. With this in mind, one possible solution would be to offer him more test sessions and simulators to help Lawson better familiarize himself with the car and its handling. These additional sessions would not only allow him to better understand the characteristics of the RB21 but could also improve his confidence behind the wheel. Furthermore, Red Bull could provide him with access to cars from previous seasons to allow him to better understand the evolution of the design and setups over the years. With further preparation, Lawson could reduce the time required to adapt to the car's intricacies. One alternative that could be explored is to continue fine-tuning the car's settings to better suit Lawson's requirements, even if it means compromising some peak performance. This could include improving traction in low-speed corners and optimizing the car's balance, elements Lawson has identified as the main issues he faces. Although this could slightly reduce the car's overall performance, if the changes allow Lawson to drive it more effectively, the team could offset the loss of speed with greater stability and consistency in its results. At the same time, the team could also focus on improving communication and collaboration between Lawson and his race engineer. The relationship between driver and engineer is critical to solving technical problems and getting the car to perform at its best. If Red Bull strengthens technical support and strategy, helping Lawson find real-time solutions during races, it could accelerate his adaptation and improve his performance. Furthermore, Red Bull could consider giving Lawson more opportunities to experience less extreme conditions. As the season progresses, some circuits may offer him a more favorable environment for adaptation, with less pressure and greater familiarity with the track. This could give Lawson the time and space to make the right adjustments and improve his performance without the constant pressure of fighting for results at every race. In summary, the solutions for Lawson in the RB21 include a combination of technical adjustments to the car, more preparation and familiarization time with the car, and a more focused approach to support and communication with his team. However, all of these solutions come at a cost: time. In an environment as competitive as F1, where every race counts and immediate performance is crucial, the room to experiment with solutions is limited. Red Bull will have to carefully balance these strategies with the pressure of keeping both cars in contention for the championship. Liam Lawson's situation at the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix has highlighted the difficulties the driver faces adapting to the challenging RB21. While his talent is undeniable, the Red Bull car is proving to be a much greater challenge than expected, especially for a driver who hasn't had adequate time to fully familiarize himself with its handling. Tensions within the team are mounting as Lawson struggles to find the balance between maximizing his performance and adapting to the car's technical complexities. Red Bull, for its part, is at a crossroads. On the one hand, they are committed to developing a competitive car that will allow them to continue leading the field, but on the other, they need to ensure their second driver is capable of scoring points regularly, especially in a season where competition from teams like McLaren and Ferrari is reaching unprecedented levels. The pressure of maintaining competitiveness while giving Lawson time to adapt is a difficult task, but it's one the team will need to manage carefully if it wants to maintain its aspirations in both the Constructors' and Drivers' Championships. As for Lawson, the next few races will be crucial. He'll need to prove he can overcome the technical hurdles and adapt to the car as quickly as possible if he wants to secure his place with the team beyond 2025. While the solutions being implemented, such as tweaks to the car's setup and more testing time, could help improve his performance, time remains a limiting factor. The team, like Lawson, knows that in Formula One, results must come quickly, and there's no room for lengthy adaptations. Lawson's history at Red Bull is a clear reminder of how F1 demands incredibly quick adaptation, especially for young drivers facing one of the most complex cars on the grid. In this sense, Lawson's future with the team will depend as much on his ability to adapt to the car as on Red Bull's willingness to continue giving him the time necessary to do so without losing his competitiveness. The next race will be a turning point. Lawson will need to prove that, despite the difficulties, he has what it takes to overcome the challenges of the RB21 and become a valuable member of Red Bull. If he succeeds, his future in F1 could be secured, But if he doesn't make the jump, Red Bull will have to make difficult decisions, and the pressure on the driver will increase even more. What's clear is that Red Bull's environment is unforgiving, and the time to adapt isn't unlimited. Each race will be crucial to Lawson's development and his relationship with the team. If he can find a solution to his car issues, it could mark the beginning of a successful new phase in his career. If not, it could mark the end of his short tenure with the most successful team in recent years. This is just the beginning of a story that could define Lawson's future in F1.